Baker Mayfield's journey in the NFL continues in Hollywood. The quarterback has been claimed off of waivers by the Los Angeles Rams just one day after being released by the Carolina Panthers. Last place Rams are likely to be without quarterback Matthew Stafford for the rest of the season.
Our coverage on this topic was very spot on because it looks like once again we made the right prediction in our previous video on Baker Mayfield, and we connected the dots really well to make sure that we could kind of give you an idea of what his future was going to look like. And to be honest, this is probably the best thing that could have happened to Baker Mayfield. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. We'll get all of that out of the way. Break! It's challenging being a sports fan in California because they did not pass the prop that allows us to gamble on games. So we had to look for some alternatives, and we did. Introducing Prize Picks, a very simple daily fantasy sports game, which in my opinion is better. Prize Picks is available in 30 states, DC, and Canada. And it's very simple. All you do is look at Prize Picks' projections and you choose higher or lower than their projection. And this week they're giving us a free square. Now, if you remember during Thanksgiving when they gave us a free square, I gave you guys what I consider to be a lock, and we were able to hit on that lock. And we're going for it again. We just need to get one square right for us to 3x our money. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All you have to do is first sign up for Prize Picks with my link in the description down below, or download the app on your phone and use promo code microphone, and they'll match up to $100 of your initial deposit. Now, once you're done with that, open up Prize Picks either on your phone or on your desktop. The very first thing you're going to do is obviously select Justin Herbert. His projection is 0.5 passing yards. I don't know what it is. I feel like Justin Herbert at the very minimum will throw for at least one passing yard. So based off of that, we're going to click more on 0.5 projected passing yards. And for the second square, we're going to go with the same man that was able to make us money last time. Darius Slayton has been crushing it ever since Wan'Dale Robinson has been injured. And I feel like he is due for at least 55.5 projected receiving yards. I'm going to select him. I'm going to push more. And if you get these two correct, then you can 3x your money. Now, I play Prize Picks all the time. If you guys want to see more of my picks, then make sure you follow me on Instagram or Twitter. And if you sign up for Prize Picks, make sure you use my link in the description down below so you could get up to a $100 deposit match from them, so you have more money to play with. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Yesterday, the Carolina Panthers decided enough is enough and that they were going to release Baker Mayfield. The reason for this was very simple. If Baker Mayfield played 70% of his snaps, then the Carolina Panthers' 5th round pick would have turned into a 4th round pick, which is what they gave up to trade for Baker Mayfield from the Cleveland Browns to begin with. It's kind of wild that a former #1 overall pick went for that low of a price, but hey, that's what ended up happening. So following that, the question was, what is Baker Mayfield's future going to look like? I said it about a month ago that there's a chance that you don't see Baker Mayfield in the NFL next year, primarily because he put himself in a very bad situation this year to begin with by joining the Carolina Panthers and Matt Rule, as opposed to opting to be the backup for the Cleveland Browns for one more season. Now, it looks like things aren't necessarily on a downward trend still. As a matter of fact, like this video is titled, this was the best possible thing that could have happened to Baker Mayfield. What would happen next is something that doesn't typically happen in the NFL. Usually, whenever a player gets cut or placed on waivers, a majority of the time you'll see every team pass on said player, usually because when a player gets cut, it's to try to save some money against the cap. In this case, it was a little different. The Carolina Panthers were essentially doing Baker Mayfield a solid. They were not going to just keep him on the roster to be their QB3 for the rest of the season when they knew for a fact that they aren't going to play him at all because, again, they wanted to preserve their draft pick. And as a result, Baker Mayfield would only have a $1.3 million cap hit against whatever team decided to claim him, which makes his contract significantly more favorable. I mean, I understand that Baker Mayfield definitely had his miscues during his career, definitely had some up years with the Cleveland Browns, some down years with the Cleveland Browns. You could rationalize why he performed horribly with the Browns last year and with with the Carolina Panthers this year, last year being an injury, this year being a brand new situation with a head coach that was fired within a few weeks into the season, and then trading their best offensive player in Christian McCaffrey, a team that's clearly rebuilding and a team that clearly doesn't have answers at the quarterback position still. So when Baker hit waivers, bear in mind, he was literally the #1 overall pick less than 5 years ago. The team that claimed him would only have to pay $1.3 million for his contract for the rest of the season. Immediately, analysts pointed to the San Francisco 49ers. They were believed to have lost Jimmy G for the whole season, which, by the way, update on that, it doesn't look like Jimmy G is out for the rest of the season. It looks like he avoided a Lisfranc injury, but on top of that, the San Francisco 49ers were 25th in the order for the waiver wire, which means the odds of them being able to claim Baker Mayfield were very slim to none. On top of that, I would assume that Brock Purdy would take on a majority of the responsibility, and Baker Mayfield would then be the backup QB. Not necessarily the best situation, because there's a chance that Baker Mayfield doesn't play for the rest of the season, or you'll just get the Josh Rosen treatment when Josh Rosen was a San Francisco 49er. There was one team, however, that we brought up in yesterday's video. That team was the LA Rams. The Rams have multiple incentive to try to claim Baker Mayfield. One, screw the 49ers. They're in your division. You don't want them to succeed. You don't want them to win a championship or a Super Bowl. And two, you have nothing to lose. There's no reason for you to punt on the season, even though things aren't looking so good for you. The LA Rams are in a very unique situation because they clearly don't have a chance at the playoffs. I mean, it doesn't really look that promising for them. They're in a very competitive division, although a surprising one. I never would have thought that the Seattle Seahawks would be at the top of that division, but I didn't expect the Los Angeles Rams to regress to the level that they did, nor did I expect the Arizona Cardinals to have this bad of a season. But in any case, at this point, you would think that the Rams would just punt on the season after Matthew Stafford got injured, after Cooper Kupp got injured, Allen Robinson got injured. They shut down Aaron Donald for their last game. But the thing is, there's no point in them doing that. They don't have a draft pick this year. Currently, the draft pick that they gave up to the Detroit Lions is good enough to be the #3 overall pick in this year's NFL draft. When you combine that with the fact that Matthew Stafford is injured and they're playing relative no names at the quarterback position, sorry, John Wolford, the combination of that and the fact that they could essentially screw over their division rival by doing this is the reason why the Los Angeles Rams ended up making a very wild decision today. Because according to Adam Schefter, as we called about 2 hours earlier, by the way, on Twitter, Baker Mayfield is going to be a Ram. So let me bring you the official tweet from Adam Schefter here. Former #1 overall pick Baker Mayfield was claimed on waivers today by the Los Angeles Rams. Per league sources, the Rams now inherit the remaining $1.35 million on Baker Mayfield's contract. Mayfield is expected to fly to LA by tonight and could play Thursday night versus the Raiders. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little excited for Baker Mayfield. I know a lot of us have been rooting against him because of the Baker Mayfield cycle. He may come off as a little cocky, but to be honest, I think this is the best case scenario for the guy. He goes to a team with a brilliant offensive coach. I mean, by far one of the smartest football minds that we have ever seen in the past generation of football coaches, hell, maybe even ever, in Sean McVay. And on the Rams side, at this point, you're just trying to evaluate what Baker Mayfield could be. Could he be your backup QB moving forward? There's even questions about Matthew Stafford's long-term durability. Some people were even floating out whether or not Matthew Stafford could play anymore past this year. And bear in mind that he's currently on the IR because he has a spinal cord contusion. And obviously, anytime a player gets an injury to their spinal cord, it's very concerning. But on top of that, Matthew Stafford had one of his worst seasons with the LA Rams. He had a 68% completion percentage, which is good to be the greatest of his career. He threw for 10 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He claims that not throwing in the offseason definitely contributed to the fact that he wasn't necessarily himself this season. But in any case, the Rams have nothing to lose in this scenario. At the very minimum, you bring in Baker Mayfield for the rest of the season. He might either be your backup QB, or he could be the successor to Matthew Stafford, or he could be on your roster for the rest of the season and then leave in free agency. I mean, there's a bunch of scenarios that could play out here, but what I will say is this situation is significantly significantly more promising for Baker Mayfield than the Carolina Panthers were. I understand that your best receivers are Ben Skowronek and Tyler Higbee at this point. I understand that the offensive line is definitely not ideal to play behind, but at the same time, this is by far the most knowledgeable head coach that Baker Mayfield has had in his career so far, and there's significantly more stability with the LA Rams, at least from a head coaching standpoint, which should provide Baker Mayfield with the means to succeed. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're a Rams fan, how do you feel about this? It should definitely be interesting, especially if Baker Mayfield starts for the Rams versus the Raiders. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.